Alright, it's the rib cracker extraordinaire, I'll break them and I sure don't care. Growing up during the tail end of the Attitude Era, I was a massive Trish Stratus fan, like I'm sure many of you were. There was just something about her. This woman was a big part of my life. I'm pretty sure as a kid I thought she'd be my girlfriend one day. Unfortunately, she never was, and we rather lost contact as wrestling became no longer cool. She was never the greatest in the ring, no matter what the WWE tried to tell you. But what she did do was come a long way from humble beginnings. She seemed like she was just going to be the new Sunny or Sable, but ended up having a solid catalogue of wrestling throughout her career. She was more than TNA in the end, although let's be clear, she would never have got as far in the business without her looks. So I guess I eventually forgot she existed, as you try to do with most of your ex-girlfriends. Which is why it surprised me when Trish Stratus had a full-time return in 2023. She had several WWE reappearances over the years, often when they visited Canada. But with the standards of women's wrestling improving, she made more appearances after 2018. Today's video is also a Patreon request by Jeffrey Marks World. If you want to make the Hawk talk, sign up today. So Trish Stratus will today compete on Ring of the Hawk Season 5, the show where we watch back a wrestler's short run with a company, and at the end we shove them a final grade to see if they can do the JOB to the HAWK. Does anybody else think she might struggle today? She was never the most incredible in the ring, but she won't be able to co-spar on her looks now because 20 years have passed. This will have to be a case of character reinvention. Will she struggle to keep up with women's wrestling, which has come a long way since she's gone away? Alright, it's Trish Stratus, but now she's old, even if she injected that Botox into her fold. So I guess the place to start is with the modern era and the women's revolution. Match 1, Royal Rumble 2018, the Women's Royal Rumble match. Trish actually enters last at number 30 to an unbelievable crowd cheer. She's still looking pretty good at this time considering her age of around 50. She immediately spears Natalya. The Bellas try to team up against her, but it doesn't go well for them and Trish hits a double Stratusfaction. She isn't done as she takes Bayley off the top rope with her leg strength. She then has a face-off with Mickie James. These two have a lot of history and the commentary say it's one of the greatest women's rivalries of all time. Mickie blocks Trish's leg flip thing and smiles with happiness. She ain't smiling for long though as Trish kicks her to eliminate Mickie. Trish is immediately flattened by Nia Jax. Trish wakes up and kicks Nia in the head, which leads to every remaining girl in the match working together to throw out Nia Jax. The teaming is then over and Natalya aggressively throws Trish to the mat. Natalya puts her in the sharpshooter, shades of Bret the Shitman fart. Trish manages to break the hold, but now she feels like mold. She manages to throw Natalya onto the ring apron and she chick kicks her head off, and she's gone. Sasha Banks is having a bad hair day and gets in Trish's face. Trish looks like she's about to hit Stratusfaction, but it's countered, and Sasha Banks throws out Trish. That's that. It was a pretty nice spot, and the way she worked, it was believable that she might actually be able to win this thing, despite her hiatus. The crowd loved her, and she managed to eliminate 2. It's a B for this re-debut, pretty nice. 2. 9 months later, WWE Evolution 2018 tag match. Trish Stratus teams up with Lita, 2 women who made Divas wrestling watchable. Alexa Bliss makes her way out to introduce the opponents. She also cuts a promo laughing about how old they both are. The opponents are Mickie James and Alicia Fox. Apparently at this point, Alicia was also the longest tenured woman on the roster. That just sounds a bit mad. Trish doesn't start this one. Lita eventually tags her in and dives off Trish's back to hit a bad looking poetry in motion. Trish squares off with Alicia and hip tosses her. She also hits a snap mirror a couple of times, there's no need for rhymes. The crowd chant, "You've still got it," whilst Alicia dumps in her nappy of fear. Mickie gets the tag as the crowd seem to remember their past history as they go nuts for this face-off. They have a punch-off, which Trish wins. She also hits a Thez press with more punches. Mickie catches her with a kick to the face. She blocks Trish's Hurricanrana and they fight on the top rope. Trish says screw it and snaps off a Frankensteiner for a 2 count. Lita and Trish tease a double tope, but they don't do it. Alicia looks like a little baby dumping in its nappy. The fight heads out to the floor. The ref is distracted and Alexa Bliss interferes to take out Lita. She's isolated for ages now. Mickie takes a cheap shot on Trish, which brings her into the ring. Randomly and also awkwardly, Trish waits to throw Lita at Mickie James so she can do a head scissors. It doesn't help the outcome of the match and Lita continues to be isolated. The tag is eventually made and Trish is in with Mickie. She does a couple of headlock takeovers. Mickie goes running and Trish hits a sit-out spinebuster for a 2 count. Didn't normally associate that move with her. Trish starts licking her hand and chopping Mickie. Her overconfidence almost costs her with Mickie getting a close roll-up. They keep reversing each other until Trish hits the Stratusfaction. Alicia breaks up the pin, but now Lita is back. Lita hits the moonsault to both girls at once. Trish knocks out Mickie with the chip kick and that's the 3. Pretty enjoyable. It feels like she's gotten a bit more advanced since the Attitude Era. So far, no problem keeping up with the others. It's a B. 3 Raw 10 women's tag. Lita, Trish Stratus, Natalya Neidhart, Sasha Banks and Bayley take on Mickey, Alicia Fox and the Riot Squad. Trish actually starts this one with Sarah Logan. Trish is showing her age a bit here. Trish hits a snap mirror and looks pleased with herself. She also takes out 2 members of the Riot Squad in one move. Just like the last match, Lita runs off Trish's back. Why does that move always look so bad? How hard could it be? Trish and Sasha Banks do some cringy teamwork elbow drop on Alicia. Trish tags out. Not much to say for a while now as Banks is isolated. The match breaks down. Trish takes out Sarah Logan and flips Mickey off the top rope. Banks and Trish try to do a cringy celebration again, which we're fortunately spared of. Neidhart wins with the sharpshooter. It's hard to stand out with so many people in one match. It's a D, the match was pointless. After that, Trish disappears again for 10 months. Match 4, Raw Tag Match. Becky Lynch teams up with Charlotte Flair to face Cat Ears, Natalya and Trish Stratus. It seems to be taking a very long time for Trish to join this match. Natalya is being a match hog. Isn't she aware that Trish is competing for a place on Ring of the Hawk right now? What a strange match. Still waiting. Still waiting. Is this tag ever coming? Trish is smacked off the apron. She just stands there watching as Natalya has a chance to tag out, but Trish doesn't move. She then realises that she's on Ring of the Hawk, but the ref won't let her in the ring. Natalya eventually gets the sharpshooter on and refuses to let go, so the ref rings the bell for DQ. What a real shover. Trish is in shock and wants to see if Becky Lynch is okay. A match that Trish did nothing but stand around for. It must be a record for the least someone has ever done in a match. Match 5, SummerSlam 2019, Charlotte Flair vs Trish Stratus. Well, despite that last match, the crowd are ecstatic to see Trish in her hometown. I'm interested to see if Trish is going to be able to keep up with Charlotte here. She has a humongous size advantage. Charlotte keeps powering her into the corner. This woman genuinely terrifies me. Trish manages to do an arm drag and a really nice spring off the ropes into a head scissors. Trish fights off the submission and milks the crowd who are chanting, "You've still got it." Trish escapes a powerbomb and sends Charlotte out of the ring. Stratus kicks her through the ropes and does the Thesz press off the apron. No signs of not being able to keep up so far. Charlotte is jealous of Trish embracing her age and drops her face on the steps. How's that for a Botox injection? Flair keeps the fight on the outside and brutally throws Trish into the barrier. Wow, I'm not sure a simple barrier throw has ever looked so devastating. Charlotte gets her in the ring and tries to make her tap. It doesn't work, so she changes tack and suplexes her across the ring. Out of nowhere, Trish reverses a back suplex into a 1 count. Flair smacks her straight back down. The crowd are stunned into silence as Flair screams, "This is Trish Stratus," over and over again. I thought it was Mae Young. That fires Trish up, who smacks her into the corner. She tries 10 punches but is sent onto the apron and booted away. She does make it back in at 9, but the way this is going, she may have been better off staying on the outside. Flair misses her moonsault. Trish flies through the ropes to hit a DDT. Flair is up first, but Trish shoves her away. They exchange kicks and chops. Once again, Charlotte looks to dive. Trish meets her up there and they brawl whilst Trish is sat on her lap. It looks like they're going for a Charlotte Flair powerbomb, but Trish switches that into a Frankensteiner for a 2. Trish can't hit a kick to the head, but Flair can. She gets a 2 count. Flair starts softening her up for the submission. Trish switches that into a pin. Flair kicks out, but now Trish has the figure 4 on Charlotte. Trish also bridges up to make it a figure 8. Great noise from the crowd for this moment. Charlotte makes it to the ropes after a minute. We seem to be at a standoff again. Charlotte Flair misses a spear as Trish hits the Stratusfaction. Charlotte Flair kicks out. Normally a very well protected move. They both hit chops from their knees now. Trish destroys her with chops. Once again, Stratus comes close with a roll-up. She blocks a Flair kick and hits the chip kick for a 2. Probably a good thing, the kick didn't look great. Both women try boots again. This time Charlotte can connect. She puts on the figure 8 submission and Trish is done. Wow, that was fun. She didn't try to have a wrestling match, she tried to have a fight. She took her bumps and had me believing in her. It's an A from the Hawk. Now there's another big 3.5-year break now, but don't worry, the return will be good. Match 6, WrestleMania 39 Saturday, 6 women's tag. Lita, who is now a tag team champion, teams with Trish Stratus, who's come dressed as a gangster. It's actually an updated version of a previous WrestleMania attire for her. And they team with Becky Lynch, who is tag team champion along with Lita. Remember that, it's relevant to this run. They take on Damage Control. All 6 brawl before the bell, which our girls team win. Poor Becky has dominated for ages. I hope we're not about to see a repeat of that previous match. The tag is almost made, but Bayley drops Trish into the apron. When the tag is finally made, it's Lita and not Trish. Lita gets isolated, so it really is looking like another match which Trish won't do anything at all in. After a double DDT, Lita finally tags Trish. She does a Thesz press on Dakota. She then takes out Dakota and Bayley at the same time. A neck breaker on Dakota gets Trish a 2. She takes the straps down now and goes into perk ankle mode, but can't hit the handstand head scissors and falls on her face. Damage control drop her on the apron. Out of nowhere, Becky and Lita flip Trish upside down so she can head scissors Dakota out of the ring onto her partners. Really cool moment. Back in the ring, Trish gets a 2 off a spinebuster. Trish tags Lita and once again they do poetry in motion. Why do they keep doing this? You can hear the energy being sucked out the crowd because it looks so bad. She's gone for a bit now, but returns with Stratusfaction on Dakota. Bayley immediately hits Trish with the Bayley to belly. Everybody has fallen out the ring so that EU Sky can hit a moonsault. All the girls end up back in the ring and it looks like a car crash. They end up brawling just like how this match started. Trish seems to have a real vendetta against Dakota and chick kicks her. Becky wins the match with a second rope manhandle slam. This was a surprising amount of fun in the end. Trish didn't do loads, but what she did do was good and she looked very youthful here. Still not out of place at all. It's a B. Now this point is where the main feud of this video begins. Lita has been attacked backstage and she's been sent to hospital, but Becky has promised a tag title match tonight, but now she has no partner. Match 7, Raw, tag title match. Trish Stratus has taken Lita's place as a tag team champion alongside Becky Lynch. They take on Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan. As usual, Trish doesn't have any involvement for ages. Becky and her big booty tag Trish for large cheers. Liv tries to matrix away from Trish but is smacked in the gut. Becky makes a blind tag with Liv on the top rope. She kicks Liv so Trish can do a handstand kick. Cool move, but Trish is confused and doesn't know what's happened. We get a double down and tags are made. Trish looks like she needs to join Lita in hospital after that one. When she returns, Trish and Becky attempt a double superplex but can't manage it. Trish hangs on up there and does a Frankensteiner to Rodriguez. Trish holds Rodriguez across the ropes as Becky dives down on her. Somehow that isn't a 3. They try the double superplex spot again. It still doesn't work as Raquel powerbombs the tower. This match is a bit ugly and botchy, but it's not really Trish doing anything wrong. Stratus eventually rushes the ring with a Stratusfaction on Rodriguez, but she isn't legal. Trish ends up alone with Liv Morgan. She swings with a chick kick but misses it and Liv rolls up Trish for the 3. So Trish lost the belt when she wasn't even the champion. Trish is a bad loser and attacks Becky. What a swerve, it felt like that would be the other way round. So Trish has turned heel. It's a C, it would have been a D, but I enjoyed the character work at the end. So Trish goes full on heel in this feud as she wants the spotlight and takes full credit for why women's wrestling is so good nowadays. There's really nice mic work between Trish and Becky, with Becky pointing out that some of the things Trish did in the Attitude Era make her feel sick. Match 8, Night of Champions 2023, Trish Stratus vs Becky Lynch. Both girls have been forced to put more clothes on because this is Saudi. You are allowed to show wrist skin, fortunately, because the Hawk really likes wrists, especially my own. Wait, what am I saying? Someone smacked me with a brick. Anyway, Becky starts with an intense onslaught. Trish has to bail out the ring and shoves Becky into the steps. That isn't enough for her and she throws her into the steps again. Trish brings her back to the ring with a rib boot. Trish is getting cocky and takes a bow on the top rope. Becky tries to take advantage but she's hit with a tornado DDT for a 2. Trish is like a vicious pit bull in this match. It's a completely different style from Trish the Dish. It's quite slow, but Trish's character work and facial expressions are star quality. Trish connects with a Thesz press and an almost botched neckbreaker. Becky eventually blocks a chop and smacks her one. The crowd come alive for Becky. Trish is sent flying with an exploder suplex. She tries to escape when Becky hits her with the guillotine leg drop. Trish dumps in her whatever she wears in Saudi and hides on the outside. Becky baseball slides her. Becky tries to get her back into the ring when out of nowhere Trish head scissors her into the ring pole. Trish hits the spinebuster now for a 2 count. Trish gets another 2 off the handstand head scissors. Becky does counter Stratusfaction, hits the diamond dust. She isn't finished and climbs up to the top rope to hit a leg drop. It's still not over. Trish escapes a Boston Crab as the fight heads out the ring again. Becky dives off the steps and catches a kick from Trish. Trish tries to take the count out victory, but Becky scrambles back into the ring. Stratus kicks her in the head straight away, another 2. That move really isn't working anymore. Both girls start ripping each other's haircuts off, this one's violent. Becky almost gets a roll-up victory and then hits the manhandle. No, Trish gets her foot on the rope. Zoe Stark suddenly attacks Becky Lynch on the outside of her knee. The Stratusfaction connects and Trish wins. That was an unexpected ending. Wow, great match, really enjoyed it, it's an A. Even without skin it made me spray. Match 9, Raw, Raquel Rodriguez vs Trish Stratus with Zoe Stark. This one is such a size mismatch that it almost looks comical. Raquel ragdolls Trish and slams her to the mat. Raquel slams her again, this might not go long. Trish slapping her doesn't help and she's speared into the corner. Raquel misses a spear in the opposite corner and she hits a tornado DDT out of the corner. Trish is now having a good time. Stratus looks like she's about to be buckle bombed, but at the last second manages to head scissors her. Raquel eventually fights out of a submission and side slams Trish. Rodriguez connects with Snake Eyes in a big clothesline. She hits a dodgy looking fall away slam where Trish lands on her ankle and falls out the ring. That allows Zoe Stark to weakly sweep her leg out. Becky Lynch neutralises Zoe Stark. She's completely flipped and she slams Trish into the crowd barrier, and that gives Trish a DQ win. Becky is dumb as this win has just qualified Trish for Money in the Bank. A nothing match, it's a D. Match 10, Money in the Bank 2023. Bayley vs Io Sky vs Zelina Vega vs Zoe Stark vs Trish Stratus vs Becky Lynch. Trish and Becky brawl on the ramp straight away, but Trish has her little friend Zoe Stark with her, so it doesn't go well for Becky. Trish and Stark throw Sky at a ladder, who back kicks Stark and she clumsily falls on Trish. Becky Lynch returns and tries to crush Trish with a ladder. Moments later, Trish is the first woman to fall off a ladder. That gets rid of her for a bit. Becky has got Zoe on the ladder. Trish handstands out of nowhere to remove Becky. Trish really isn't having much luck with this ladder so far. Trish and Io Sky fight near the top of the ladder. Trish kicks her down. Now Zelina Vega stops her with another ladder. She bridges Trish to walk to the other ladder. Bayley collects Trish and gives her a Snake Eyes. Io Sky moonsaults off a ladder onto everybody except Trish. She frantically climbs up the ladder. She has her hands on the case, but no, Becky stops her. Becky teases a suplex off the ladder before Trish just sort of falls down. Zelina Vega hits a crossbody from the middle of the ladder. Momentarily, Trish and Becky end up working together to powerbomb Vega. Trish looks like trash here. Becky and Trish remember that they hate each other. Stratus takes a break from fighting Becky to hit Stratusfaction on a ladder. She then returns to fight Becky. Zoe Stark has handcuffs and they cuff Becky to the ring, but they screw it up and Becky frees herself and fights off her enemies. Becky throws Trish over the announce table. She isn't done with Trish. They brawl on the table until Becky hits Trish for manhandle slam on the ladder. She is done. Io Sky wins when she handcuffs Becky and Bayley to the ladder. It was alright. TNA had a similar match around this time which was actually a lot better. But this isn't a TNA storyline. Well, it sort of is because it's Trish. Anyway, whatever, it's a C. She took a couple of big bumps and one major bump. Match 11, Raw. Becky Lynch versus dashing Trish Stratus. Trish doesn't want this match and is forced into it. The bell rings and Becky floors her. Zoe Stark immediately rushes the ring and causes a DQ. Trish hits Becky with a chair and they leave. It's an S. Match 12, Raw. Dashing Trish Stratus. Zoe Stark is banned from ringside, by the way, versus Becky Lynch. Becky smashes Trish all over the ring like she should because she hates her. Trish headbutts her and apparently this is her new gimmick because the mask hurts the opponents. Trish misses a big kick and gets an exploder suplex. She falls out the ring where Becky baseball slides her away. She hits a diving smack off the apron too. Trish starts dumping in her thong and running away. Then she changes her mind and turns around with a clothesline. Becky kicks her from the apron now and Trish pretends that her mask has fallen off, which stops everybody. It's actually fine and Trish is just distracting her so she can do a handstand head scissors for her too. Out of the ring we go again where Trish sends Becky's hip into the steps. Trish tries to smack Becky with her mask, which doesn't work and the ref takes it away. Becky nails a smacking combination and the guillotine leg drop for a 2 count. Trish responds with a roll up and the spear for a 2. They fight in the corner for a while before eventually Becky hits a superplex for a 2 count. Once again Trish runs away. They fight in the audience as the ref counts them both out. The crowd loudly boo. They almost fight out of the building. Trish starts throwing bottles of water and is acting like she's drunk. Becky tries to manhandle her for a tabletop counter before Zoe Stark saves Trish. Trish kicks her in the head and it seems to be over. Kind of a slow lane matchup, it's a D. Match 13, final match, Payback 2023, steel cage match. Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus. Trish smiles at Becky, who refuses to smile back. Trish slapping her just wasn't a good idea. Becky flips and hits 3 exploder suplexes in a row. Somehow Trish survives and starts throwing Becky into the steel. She hits the spine buster for a 2 count. Trish tries to leave through the cage, instead Becky almost rolls her up. The match grinds to a halt with Trish slowly working her over and gritting her teeth with happiness. Becky suddenly wakes up and starts throwing Trish into the steel about 5 times. Trish matrixes away from a Becky smack, but Becky gut punches her. She hasn't done much in this match, but now Becky goes nuts and starts slamming Trish's head into the cage a bunch of times. She's feeling good now and hits a guillotine leg drop for a 2. Trish seems to bruise really easily in this run. That face has taken some damage in this video. Trish ends up on top of Becky's lap on the top rope. Trish desperately fights her off and gets to the top of the cage. She's unable to escape and Bex brings her back with a powerbomb and a 2 count. Trish also has her own power moves as she steals Victoria's Widow's Peak. Becky responds with a twist of fate. Victoria vs Lita was the first women's steel cage in WWE, so they're kind of throwing back to that. Becky can't hit a dive and almost pays for Stratusfaction, but kicks out. Trish is really pulling out the stops in this one, but just can't finish her off. The top rope bulldog doesn't end the match either. Trish gets up from that and climbs the cage. Becky wakes up just in time to pull her back. Big Match Bex has her hanging upside down from the top of the cage. After a bit of work, Becky hits an insane superplex from up there. Trish gets her shoulder up. Zoe Stark arrives to try and help her friend, but she's too weak to pull her out of the cage. Zoe slams the door on Becky's head. Trish tries to follow it, but misses a chip kick and gets a manhandle slam. Zoe breaks up the pin. She brawls with Becky whilst Trish is climbing the cage. Becky gets rid of Zoe Stark and desperately climbs to the top to get Trish. She hits the manhandle slam from the top rope, and that is the 3. Stratus blames Zoe for this loss and they have a little falling out. Well, for a women's cage match, that's about as good as you're going to get. It wasn't necessarily about the moves they did, but the hatred and intensity that they displayed throughout the match. I believe these two women wanted to kill each other. It's an A from the Hawk. Game over. Now that last match was about 6 months ago. Trish isn't actually retired, but keeps her cards close to her chest on a return this year. She could have a feud with Zoe Stark, although it wouldn't be that good because Zoe isn't very good on character work. Well, what do we think, squad? Do we have a bit more respect for Trish's work coming out of this video? Her character work has always been good, but she has really brushed up in the ring. Everything looked good. She didn't try to do anything too complicated, she stuck to what she knew. She took some hard bumps and earned her spot on the roster, just like she's earned her spot on the Ring of the Hawk roster. As far as any criticisms go, it's just nitpicking really, but she didn't have any new offense, it was just more polished. The Zoe Stark stuff was slightly boring. I'm not sure if Trish really helped to get over that much. This was not a perfect run, but she did prove some doubters wrong and showed she could still hang, so it must have taken her a lot of work, especially at her advanced age in her years off wrestling. So I'm going to give her a low A. I don't think it was as good as Pentagon's run, so she can have second spot, and if you don't agree with that, I'll take away what you've got.